So here we have it. This is our 3D print, full 3D print build that we're going to be doing. Um, I'm sure we're missing some stuff that's going to be in 3D, but you can clearly see some stuff is not here. And that's stuff that we're not going to do in 3D. Just because you can't really, it's hard to find it. We had a real hard time finding a transmission housing. So we're just going to probably use a regular transmission, maybe with this 3D printed plate or this adapter here, depending on what motor we go with. I'm not even sure on that yet. But we'll get there. And, obviously axles, like actual axle shafts and bearings and stuff like that can't be 3D printed. We do have 3D printed tires though, which is pretty wild. So I'll just go through this stuff real quick and just kind of show who provided it, or tell you who provided it, and kind of show them off a little bit. You'll see more, and I'll tell you again when we do the actual assembly of each part. So the chassis we're going to be using is the FC1. This is by TS.Fabs, or Trevor Sanders, and he provided us this chassis here, as well as these really funky 3D printed shocks. I was looking for some sort of shock option. I saw these. I did some research. Somebody was printing them, but they did not want to print them out and send me any. So Trevor said he would go ahead and take care of me. So we found a file, and I think it was a 10 scale file actually, and we scaled them down, and he just printed we had a whole bag of this. A whole bag of like different widths because they're kind of stiff. So we don't know what we're doing there. We're just kind of experimenting. So hopefully that works. We'll see as we go. The next one we've got is a Tinker Time cage. This is from Tinker Time. Obviously it's a rear cage. We might have an issue mounting it because of the way it's supposed to be mounted is in the stock rails. And with this chassis set up here, I'm not sure if it's going to work, but we'll see. I just definitely wanted to show that. A lot of really cool 3D printed stuff from Tinker Time. They're also doing Lexan vacuum molded bodies, so definitely check them out. We're going to have some of those to show as well at some point. We're getting a few, so we'll show those off, but these cages are awesome, and they go right on stock rails, so pretty cool. Next in line is this guy. This is the Golem. This is a half body that Sean Bashan brought up for us because we told him we had this Tinker Time. So we had this, and we're like, well, we need a front end, so we went ahead and got that as well. So this is the Golem body. This is GunnersRCGarage, and yeah, we'll put a link to all this stuff down below. A lot of these guys are smaller companies or one-man shows that are just, enthusiasts, and they decided they wanted to go ahead and help us out with this build, and we wanted to show them. We wanted to show their products and what kind of cool stuff they produce. This little body is awesome. So, like I said, this body and cage, we think that's pretty sweet looking. We like that look. Even for a non-3D print build, if for some reason this build doesn't work out, we'll be using a lot of this stuff in other builds because a lot of it is very quality. Speaking of quality, this guy here is awesome. So this is from Colt Richard Spearing, and these are the weirdest. He's got some well, shit, I was going to show you what kind of cool little proprietary that was wild. I barely even squeezed it. So his bodies have a proprietary printing, and they're flexible. That is crazy. Because when I first got it, I flexed it, and it had no problem. It was squeezy and squishy, and man, I don't know what just happened there. I mean, you can see how squeezy and squishy it is. I don't know if it's because I moved fast. Oh, that is crazy. That sucks. We can find a way to fix it, I guess, but holy hell, that really sucked. Well, you saw it on camera. I'm glad it happened on camera. Either way, like I was saying, he kind of has a proprietary resin that he uses because this isn't, traditional. This is a resin printer, and it gives the body flex. It's supposed to. I don't know. Maybe we're in Colorado and it's super dry and it causes it to. I don't know. That was wild. When I first got it, I was able to bend it, and it was pretty awesome. So we're gonna figure that out. I guess we'll fix it in some way. That really sucks. Anyway, I think he stopped printing for a little bit, so hopefully he starts printing again because his bodies are super sick. And his, proprietary stuff, resin, is really good, but that's wild. Again, it's crazy because when I first got the thing, I was able to like twist it like this, like a full twist. So I don't know what's going on there. It's just been sitting in a box until today. Anyway, super unfortunate. We'll figure something out though. All right, these wheels and tires. Oh, you know what? I forgot about these guys. Flubber stuffers. One of these. We already got them in there, but the last one we got to fill. So we're using flubber stuffers in these. That's not really going to matter much because these are super stiff. But these tires are something I found from somebody, just an individual, because they're just impossible. Nobody 3D prints tires because really they don't perform the best. But again, the point of this project is to show off some cool 3D printed stuff. So we've got these tires are from Nick Kendall. I'm probably totally slaughtering his name. Nick Kendall. He has a family that all does kind of some maker type stuff, 3D printing and fabbing and stuff. So we'll put a link in the description. It's Koi Family Creations, and he went ahead and sent us some other cool stuff too, like this little chainsaw, these flex links here. What else we got? These limiting straps, a little Nurgling from Warhammer 40k, if you know about those, and then a Stinger bumper. So pretty cool. Oh, Sean also sent these along. So we've got a servo tray and a rear truss. We were kind of having a hard time finding a rear truss until we found Dinky RC. And Dinky RC makes this adjustable rear truss. And so when we talked to them about their plate here, their skid plate, they told us they also make servo trays and rear truss. So we've got that. It's adjustable mounts there for your 4-link and adjustable mounts there. And then they are also who provided the wheels. And these wheels are super sick. Even if this wasn't a 3D printed build, these wheels are awesome. Another thing that we'd use on a real rig, if you will. These also came from Dinky. Now, this isn't something that they sell normally, but again, we were kind of having a hard time finding transmission parts, and he said he could print us some different plate options. So we did that. So then we also have these guys, right? These are the shining centerpieces, I guess. To a degree, the bodies and stuff are awesome, but like these are hard to find. Stuff like this is super hard to find. And these axles are by another individual, not a company, and they are super quality print. He did a really great job. The design is awesome, at least from what it looks like. Once we get it together, we'll find out if all the tolerances and such are good, but they're very good looking. They look awesome, and they feel awesome, and I think they're going to be really good. So these guys are by Brett Carapalati. Probably slaughtered that name. I'll put it up here, and again, links in the descriptions, so you can check that stuff out. Super sick. Really well done. You probably recognize these. This is the McCue RC Ultra High Clearance Mantis links. So we've got a set of those for the lower links. Oh, and that reminds me, these also came from Dinky RC. They said we needed some different links to be able to do. He doesn't make upper links. McCue doesn't. So Dinky went ahead and provided us with some links so that we can have upper links with our high clearance links. Oh, we missed some things over here. A roof rack and a winch, also by Colt Richard Spearing from Colt Designs, and then one of his local guys, local printers, printed this. So we've got another option for a belly plate or skid plate, just in case this doesn't work out. So that's the kit. That's what we're working with so far. And then we just got to get some electronics and a motor, and get our axles and stuff in here. And I think we're good to go. We'll have to figure out how this chassis is going to work with these bodies. This makes me so sad. So sad. I've seen him in videos. He like literally twists them. So I don't know. Like I said, I think something might have happened. Sitting in a super dry, no humidity state. Maybe. I don't know. Well, let's get going. We're going to start with the wheels and tires. I'm going to show you that. And yeah. So one of the first things that we're going to do are these 3D printed tires and wheels and tire inserts. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with these. These are the flubber stuffers. And they're the Slymeballz, actually, by Flubber Stuffer. And they are amazing. Now, to be fair, these 3D printed tires are very stiff, so these aren't really going to do anything. But again, as part of this project, I wanted to show off different smaller companies that 3D print and individuals, and Flubber Stuffers is one of them. So I wanted to show these guys to everybody. If you don't know about Flubber Stuffers, check them out. The wheels are by Dinky RC, also another awesome small business, and they sent us some other stuff as well. You know, the skid plate and rear truss and servo trays, that stuff, we'll be using that for sure. So Dinky RC, these wheels are awesome. I would use them on a regular build, not just this. These are amazing, and there are other parts too. They're super high quality, awesome stuff. Now these tires are really because we wanted to try to go as far as we could with 3D printing, and there's no real good compound to 3D print tires with, but we did find somebody. His name is Nick Kendall. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but Nick and his family have a company that 3D prints stuff, and they do other stuff as well, but it's called Koi Family Creations. I'll put a link to it. It's their Facebook page. Again, this is an individual. This is not really a company, but he wanted to send out some tires, and they look really cool. they're probably not going to perform the best. They're a little slick, and the compound's just not soft enough and stuff like that. They're very stiff. I mean, really stiff. But again, it's more about the point of the build, showing off what people do create and what can be created. So we've already got these 3 done. We're just going to go ahead and do this last one here. All right. A little bit of extra printing on there that we had to pull off. All right. One thing really cool about these wheels is the inner ring. So let me pull this back out. I'll show you. Well, you can see it there, right? The inner ring has a groove. It's on both sides. And it's a nice groove that the tire can sit, the bead of the tire can sit down into that groove. And it means that your tire is not going to slide out. So we really like that real deep bead channel in the inner ring. Super cool. So a little trick we're going to do is we're going to stick some of our extra Allen wrenches down in between the wheels and the tire, between the wheel and the face and the inner ring, and that'll make sure all of our screw holes are aligned. That way, when we go ahead and compress down in there, we can just easily just press down and we know that our screw is aligned. We can pull one out. Put our next screw in. Now with these, we really want to make sure we're not over tightening. We're not really worried about the screws backing out, so we're just going to make sure they're just snug, just enough. Because we don't want to crack the 3D printing. And the fact that these are very stiff means that the bead isn't going to squish very easily, so it could be could over tighten it very easily and crack it. So we think that's good enough. We're not going to get too crazy with it. All right, now we'll do the back side. We're going to do the same little trick here. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed during the time lapse, but we actually backed some of the screws out and went back in. Part of that's because this ring where the screw goes through is threaded. So if your outer ring isn't super tight up against your inner ring when you go in, because the outer ring is threaded, you actually risk stripping it out. So we backed them out until they were no longer in the inner ring, and then we compressed it as much as we could, tighten them up again, and we kind of backed some of them out and went back around and just retightened them all after backing them out to get them close. You just kind of want to get it started. If you try to pull it all the way in, you can end up cracking the 3D print because the tolerances are pretty tight up against the screw and it's threaded. So that's why we did that, if you were wondering. But there we go. Got the side they got printed on, kind of gross, and then a nice shiny side, and there you go. Pretty cool. Again, we're not really looking for performance here. These aren't going to be the best performing tires. You know, they're slick, they're hard. It's not ideal. We may end up, at some point pulling these off and put some real nice tires on there. But for now, again, the point of the project is as much 3D printed stuff as we really could. So that's where we're at. These are going to be the axles we use. I'm sure you've seen them in some of the videos. So let's see what's next here. Now we're on to these axles from Brett Carapalati. Excuse me if I slaughtered your name. Sorry about that. Horrible with names. Either way, Brett has 3D printed these axles, and they are awesome. They are fantastic quality. I love the colors, like transparent diff covers, the red, the gray, the black. It's going to really complement our build, so we're super excited to get these assembled. We've got some of our stock parts here. Well, these are +4 axles, actually. These are +4 axles, and then these are TS.Fabs CVDs. Figured those will be good. These are the first issuance ones where they are a little weaker than what I don't know if they've actually come out with the new ones yet, but these people have broken these. They're running like 3S through them and crazy brushless motor setups, and they're just getting them stuck in rocks and breaking the axles. But we figure this build is fine for them. We're not going to be going crazy. Everything's 3D printed, so we wanted the CVDs to kind of show off the turn radius And so we'll do that. These are just stock ring and pinions here. We have some fast eddy bearing set. We have some wheel weights and brass because we are going to need a little bit of weight down low, and our spacers. And you know, I just realized, and literally just as we were speaking, we don't have any 3D printed hexes. That's gonna, okay, so we'll probably just have to use aluminum hexes, I guess. And yeah, that's okay. Oh, you know what else? Oh my God. We don't have steering links. I just looked at these guys here and I'm like, wait, we don't have any 3D printed steering links. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe we can get some real quick during the video, or yeah, I'll let you know by the end of the video. You'll see it, whether we have 3D printed links or not. If not, maybe somebody out there wants to provide some, or, you know, has a really cool design of 3D printed links. I know they're pretty simple. There's not a lot to them, but maybe somebody's done something cool with links and that's why they had to 3D print them. Anyway, let's get these assembled. Let's go. You don't need to see me disassemble this. We'll be back.
A few moments later.
So it looks like Brett included bearings in there. I assume because these are probably, they're smaller or something about them. I don't know, maybe just being nice. But there are some bearings already in there. And what I wanted to really show, though, was he designed these knuckle ends, these C hubs, basically, so that you could clock them, right? You could actually turn them and clock them and get a different caster. But it would adjust your steering knuckle and give you that clock so that you're able to set them back. A lot of times people will put a little bit of clock in them so that it grabs better as you're climbing and whatnot. So that's a really cool feature. There's also the bushings in there. So that's nice. He's got the bushings in there for us. So I just wanted to show that real quick. We've got this guy all apart. Let's go ahead and screw our C-hub back in. And then we'll get our bearings into our knuckles and our worm gear and pinion. Obviously, don't over tighten anything on these guys because they are all 3D printed. Something interesting of note on these Deluxe Fab CVDs, they don't have the lip to sit in the bearing. That's why it looked like it was loose to us at first, because there's no lip. If you look on a stock dog bone, you've got this seat that the bearing sits on. And even on these RC all-wheel drives here, they have the seat for it, but the Deluxe Fabs don't, oddly enough. So that's interesting. I wonder how that's going to affect slop in there. Guess we'll find out. If it seems like it's not doing well, we'll swap it out. Maybe we'll put the RC all-wheel drives in there, or just some stock. All right. Where's our bearing kit? Now we're going to get our bearings out, get them in there. All right, bearing looks nice and flush. This bearing, however, does not. So let's get in here. Use some pliers. Try to make sure we're all the way in. All right, always make sure you've got your O-ring on your worm gear. There's like a little tiny plastic or rubber O-ring there. You want to make sure that's in there. Helps prevent slop, which also helps prevent binding. And you want to make sure that all your bearings are properly seated so that when you tighten this down, you don't end up with binding. When you tighten this down, you end up with binding. Either your bearings aren't seated properly or you're way too tight, because you can kind of over tighten these and it'll just squeeze too much. And it depends on the tolerances of the axle and whatnot, the axle housing and the diff cover. But, you know, some aftermarket diff covers are just slightly off, and so if you over tighten them, you end up just real tight in your shaft here, your output shaft. So just be aware of that. Make sure you don't over tighten anything. Make sure your bearings are nice and flush, and you should be good. So we're going to go ahead and put in our pinion here, and then we have these bearings. Now we're going to just put a little bit of oil in here, just a little, just make sure it's kind of oiled up. I'm not a fan of totally dry gears, so we'll just do a little bit of oil in there. That's just regular machine oil. You can put actual, you know, grease in there and stuff like that. We just don't want to. We're good with just the oil though. So All right, so we got that all together. Seems fine. It's a little tight, but his tolerances are really tight here on the output shaft, and yeah, it might be a little tight, but that's okay. I think it'll wear in. We don't have any issues there. We'll go ahead and get some bearings in our knuckles now. Those seem to go in real nice and easy. Still smooth. Seems good. These screws almost look like they're a little bit longer than this side. Wonder if he gave us the wrong size screws here. I'm going to point these out because they're hitting on the, I don't know if you can see it, but they're hitting on the CVD. We might have gotten the wrong size screws here. It's okay. We have some extras if he did get us those wrong. Not a huge deal though. I didn't even notice. They do look a little long. We can get shorter ones even if there's some tolerance difference or something weird. Oh yeah, they're definitely longer. Odd. Wonder if he ended up using, can't really see down in there. Potentially, these already came, he sent these assembled, so, you know, we'll just get some smaller ones. I know I've got smaller ones, so I'm not going to take these apart. These are all fine. So let's get some smaller screws here. All right, we got all our screws worked out. They're all shorter. They're 5mm. I think yeah, these were 6. So just that extra millimeter meant that we were kind of hitting on our CVD there just a little bit, just kind of touching it. I mean, you could spin it, but if you were turning or the thing moved at all, you were hitting. So we're good now, though. Oh, you know what? We're dumb. We are really dumb. We put our knuckles upside down, the lower part. This bracket should be lower because your steering linkage goes on top. Damn it. We can go ahead and do this though. This is nice and easy. Just pop these off. Pop off our C-hubs. We'll swap sides on the C-hubs. And just pop this off. Pop this off. Switch sides. I really like this design. Somebody should make it in aluminum so that you can clock that. Just pop it off. I think doing those in aluminum would be awesome. Here we go. Flipped. Flip that script. All right, we're going to throw this servo tray on there. This is a Dinky RC servo tray. One of the things that looks like we might have an issue with is right here. Oh, excuse us. This is kind of square cornered here. Square cornered. And this is very round, and you can see it looks, let's get this on there. It looks like the screw holes may not fit. We may not be able to get down this way far enough. Maybe it's not hitting on the back here. It almost looks like it's hitting right here where the link mounts are and the top of the axle, but it's not actually hitting there, but it's in here. And I think it's this front portion. So I'm going to try to get a screw in there and see. I don't want to break the 3D print. So worst case, we may have to take a tiny Dremel on the corners here. So let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. It goes way further down now. Now we are almost hitting on the back here, but I think we're still fine. Oh, you know what? We're idiots. Man, we just keep messing up left and right here. Diff cover goes on the inside. What am I doing? Okay, so never mind. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I was mounting it like this. Like, what am I? I'm tired, clearly. It goes like this, guys. I'm stupid. Oh well, we rounded it out a little bit. Fine, no biggie. It fits perfect like this. Damn it, I'm stupid. Stupid me, so dumb. I don't know why I was thinking that the servo tray mount went on the outside. Less I. Again, that's part of the hobby, though. You kind of mess up and figure out why things aren't working, and 5 hours later, you realize, oh, I forgot to put it on the other side, or I forgot a screw, or my tolerances are just barely off on this piece that's all the way on the inside, and I got to take everything apart. All right, that's way better. Yeah, yeah. All right. Stop beating yourself up, Ken. Stop doing it. Bamsies. Whamsy bamsy. Make sure you're not too tight. Yeah, we're still good. So if you over tighten those, it can squeeze on your bearing and your output shaft. Your worm gear can get too compressed, but I think we're good. Nice. Nice. All right, guys. Let's do the rear. We'll just come back when the rear is all done. Put the bearings in, output shaft, worm gear, main gear. Yeah, we'll be back. So we got this side in. Now we're just going to go ahead and throw this side in. All the tolerances here seem real good. The rear end's a lot more simple than the front end, but I mean, you still got to make sure your tolerances are correct. We threw our diff cover on and it felt nice and smooth in there. So we are good. These little plates that hold the bearings in. It's better than just a screw and washer, so we like that. At least it looks cooler, right? You got the two-tone. Really like that look. Throwing our Dinky RC adjustable rear truss on. Looks like it should fit fine. We're putting it on correctly this time. I think we're going to be good here. All right. Front and rear axles. We just got to figure out this steering link issue and our hexes. Nice. The wheel almost looks like it's touching on our brass wheel weight, but I don't think it is. It is very, very close though, but that is awesome. I think it fits perfect. Even if it was touching, it's not a big deal. The brass can spin. It spins with the axle, right? So not a big deal. Bam. Beautiful. All right. It gets exciting when we start to see things come together. Really love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so the next thing we're going to work on is the chassis here, and we're using the TS.Fabs FC1. They have an Etsy, and you can check it out. This chassis is pretty cool. This is a low CG battery mount here. So the battery basically goes underneath. You can essentially use a stock battery, and it just slides in. Now, we have a lot of ours have Velcro on them, so we might have to pop the Velcro off of a battery to get it in there. So it'll slide through, but it's just pressure held, and from what I've heard, nobody's really had issues with the batteries coming out, so it should be good. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put our tray on, our skid plate, and try to get some of this stuff together, and then we'll come back. We're gonna do some tinkering here, and I don't want to bore you with it, so we'll be back. All right, so here's where we're at so far. This belly plate or skid plate is from Dinky RC. They call this their FLR skid plate. It's basically designed to eliminate front axle roll when your suspension compresses. So you can see here, there's mounting points for your links that are up higher. So it basically is almost like an anti-squat that would be on the rear, except it's opposite. It's on the front and it's on the skid plate side. But it basically helps prevent axle roll when your suspension compresses. Okay, we have a small problem though, and that small problem is obviously that those links will interfere with our battery. more than likely. Yeah, they're definitely gonna hit. So we're gonna end up having to use these lower link mounting spots, the stock link mounting spots. But that is a very cool feature of this skid. Also, if we wanted to use these upper link mounting positions, we'd have to put a hole here in this chassis. And we might still do that. We might end up just trying to find a different way to mount the battery. But one of the key features of this chassis is the battery mounting low and towards the front. So ideally, we'd like to keep that. And yeah, we'll just have to see once we get it all together and we can make adjustments. But for now, we're going to plan on using the lower link placement and go from there. Also, one thing about this FC1 chassis, it's designed to use the shorter links on the rear and the longer links on the front. So you can see this. Well, yeah. So we're going to probably end up with something sort of like this. Shorter links in the rear, longer links in the front. Something along those lines. So it should be interesting. Hopefully things work out. We're using a lot of different parts from a lot of different people, and we weren't necessarily able to pick and choose the exact part we needed. So we're going to make stuff work. I'll be back when we get some more. Just of note, the screws we just used some, these are all obviously M1.4s. These ones we used 5 millimeters. These ones are going to be 8 millimeters, and we ended up, or excuse me, I think these are actually 10s. We use 10s here. Yeah, the link ones are 10s, and then we used 8s in our tray. You could have used 10s as well for if you want extra strength in there, but we feel like 8s are fine. All right, let's get some more of this together. Get the links in there. We got our McCue high clearance links on, ultra high clearance links. They're called the Mantis links. We've used these on a few of our builds. They are pretty awesome. We're excited to use them on here. I hope it doesn't interfere too much with any of this, because again, we're using a lot of mix and matchy type parts. Looks like there might be a little bit of rub in here, so we might have to take care of that, but we won't know till we get it all together. Again, there's gonna be a lot of putting it together, taking it apart, putting it together. And I'm gonna try not to bore you with that stuff, but I'll show you the key points during the build. Also, again, this chassis is super cool with the long links in the front. It's basically, again, C10 links swapped, so you have the rears in the front and the fronts in the back, but it's C10 length right now. You could probably run some other lengths. If you wanted to run longer length rears, you could. Do like C10 fronts or C10 rears in the front and deadbolt rears and make it real long. It'd be pretty stretched. You do have some decent mounting points for your shocks. So we're just going to do the standard C10 length links and see where we get. Let's go ahead and put our axles on now.
A few moments later.
Well, this is exactly what I was talking about. When you start mixing and matching different manufacturers and different designs, you start to run into issues. So here's a stock rear axle, right? These links connect right here. That's pretty much straight, right? Your axle output shaft. And it goes here, and these can sit down in there. And then your shock mounts here at the top, right? So you can see how this kind of slides back in there a little bit, right? And these are straight because these are, they're ultra high clearance. They're not just they're angled, I guess. They're straight here, but they're not a normal link where it's just straight like this, right? They go up and they're straight. So anyway, on the stock axles, these work fine because there's plenty of clearance. But on these guys, look how he did the housing. So good if you're going to have a straight link like this and it just goes in there, right? Your straight link just goes in. Nice and cozy. Let's pull this screw out. Just like that, right? And even like this, you've got plenty of movement, right? But with these high clearance links, that's a problem. So I don't know what we're going to do about that, actually. I really don't want to Dremel on these axles. That is not ideal. And we can't really cut the links or adjust the links in any way because it'll weaken them way too much. I mean, we could try to take a little out of the axle. Man, I really don't want to. That is rough. But we need to be able to get a good millimeter or two further back. Because we can't have our axle clock like that, right? Like, that's just not going to work. It's got to be like this. All right. I guess we're going to... Man, I really don't want to Dremel this. Guess we're going to Dremel it. Hopefully we don't weaken the shock mounting spot. But we definitely have to take this in. Guess we'll use this little guy and just go in. Scary. I really don't want to, but is the front the same? Man, the front's the same. All right, well, let's do the back. And I guess we'll see how it goes. Man, I just don't know if this is going to work at all, because this has got to be pretty far back in there. Let's look at the stock. So you can see that the stock link mounting position is further forward than this. This is pretty shallow. It's not nearly as far forward as the stock. Oof, oof, oof. Guess we'll see how far we can go with it. I don't want to ruin them. So here's where we're at. You can see the difference between the two. This side's blocked off. This side I dremeled all the way in. Try to make space. Now hopefully that'll give us enough space here. Seems a lot better versus this side, where you have virtually no space. Like it won't even, I mean, you can see how clocked the axle is just to get the screw in. So hopefully that'll help a lot. Should give us a lot more clearance here and prevent our axle from being totally clocked forward. Another thing about this skid is it's kind of an angled skid, realistically, the way it's, not the skid, but the mounting, the way it mounts on the chassis. It's sort of angled a little bit. At least that's what it appears to be. I think once, if you had equal shock lengths, it would definitely be a little angled there. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side here and get it mounted on there and then kind of mess with it some more. All right, there we go. We got both sides. It looks like we took off about 2.5 millimeters on each side. Yeah, we're right at 2.5 millimeters here. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, I think we're good. There's a little bit of a hump in there. Let's see if I can take that down with just the X-Acto. Just a little bit of a hump. All right, that's a little better. So hopefully that'll give us some more clearance. Let's go ahead and get these bolted up. Well, I'm pretty happy with the amount of clearance we got there. It's actually, I mean, you can see we can almost clock it forward. That's going to be good, I think. I think we're good. Hopefully we just didn't weaken it too much. That's the main issue that I'm concerned about. The shock mounting points should still be good. Absolute worst case, we move these shock mounting points back a little further. But I think we're good. There's actually no exposed hole, so I'm pretty sure the screw is going to be able to go straight through with no exposed hole. It might bulge a little. There might be a little bulging happening there when we put a screw through, but I'm hoping it's enough to hold it. Again, this isn't like a crazy heavy rig either. It's going to be pretty lightweight. It's all 3D printed. Even our shocks are kind of goofy, so I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see though. These do seem a little wider than our chassis. Just a little. Not too bad. How big are the little chassis rails? So if we put the chassis rail in there, it's definitely wider. Or not chassis rail, but like brace. The links hit on the chassis. So that'll be the max compression, basically. The max compression will be where the links hit, which isn't the worst, but yeah, I mean, with the shocks we're going to use, who knows? Who knows? Let's get the front done, and I'll come back once the front's all done.
More moments later.
And here we have it. It actually looks like it sits well on the front. Got plenty of clearance, I think. When it drops down, it is clocked forward a little more than we'd like when you drop down. So that's unfortunate, but I'm sure we can do some more clearing out here once we get a little bit more built. We'll maybe take a little off the front of the link here. We just have to be careful. One thing that we noticed on these, and this had nothing to do with us drummeling, but this side, right? These sides are not reinforced at all. And on this particular one right here, there's a crack. And actually, it looks like there might be one, or is it this side? I don't remember. I think it was this side, actually. This side has a little tiny crack in there. And so when you're putting this, when I was putting the screw in, it kind of pushed it off a little. Should go a little tight. I don't know. Either way, it was cracked before we even put the screw in, and as we were putting the screw in, we noticed it was a little off, and it's just a little weak. So we may end up taking some shoe glue or E6000 or just some regular super glue and reinforce this area right in here. There's no reason not to. You know, he could have made this twice as thick, and it would have been just fine. So maybe that would be good. In addition to giving us a little extra clearance in through here, that would be good if he was to do a redesign on the axles. But the axles are awesome, other than that mounting issue. And yeah, I guess we're gonna just keep on going here. Next, we'll do the upper links here. Got the front upper links on. Seems like we have a good amount of freedom here. It does roll forward a little bit. It's hard to see with the wheel on there, but you can see the servo tray points downward just a little more than we'd like for sure. But without doing custom links or getting some custom length there, it's going to be hard to clock this back with what we have. Again, we could make custom links, but that's not the point of this project. That's not the point. We're making this work. So we're just going to do the rears now. These are links. The upper links are from Dinky RC as well. They're not something they sell, but after we got the servo tray and the rear truss and the skid plate and the wheels all from Dinky RC, we mentioned, hey, we've got lower links, but we need some upper links. So they printed us a set of links out in black and gray, and we're going to go with these gray ones. And yeah, so we appreciate that. And we're just going to go ahead and get the fronts on. We're using, we have a whole bunch of shock, little pivot ball mounts, little pivots from all the different shocks and whatnot. So we're using those as our pivot joints. We don't have any, we have one set, you know, 2 links, not even a set, 2 links that have stock pivots that we have in our stock collection. All the rest have no pivots. We must have used them. So we're going to go ahead and use these brass guys. Seems like it's fine. Got plenty of movement in what you saw. We're just kind of pushing them through. It's a little tight on this side. One side is larger than the other, so it helps when we do our 4-link in the front, keeping the links on so they don't slide off the pivot ball. But these are meant to kind of snap onto a ball joint. So we're having to kind of clean up this side. It's a little too tight, and the other end of the ball can't go through, and we need it to go through. So we just kind of clean it out a little bit, give it a little bit more room, and then we'll press it on. So again, these have like a larger diameter side, so we're going to put that on the side that's more open. So this is the larger diameter, the larger opening, and then we'll press these through. Ta-da! And they got plenty of movement, so it works. Seems good. We'll be back when we get the front done. The rears are on now, and we kind of have a problem. It does not want to really drop down any lower than this. And I believe it's because the McCue links and these axles are just not playing nice. We need even more space on the back, right in here. Like I said, it's not an issue with the axles. It's not an issue with the McCues, because we've used the McCues on tons of rigs, and they're all pretty good. These axles, if you were using regular links, they'd have no issues. I think the issue is literally just the way they design. Both of these are just not happy with each other and how they're designed. So we're just going to take off a little bit more. Maybe we'll see if we can take off a little bit of the back of the McCue. We'll try to get just a little bit extra movement out of this. You can tell the fronts have a good amount, but these backs just don't want to drop down enough. So we need to drop down some more. So we're going to pull these out, and we're going to see if we can take off a little bit more from the back here. And I think we're going to take a little off the McCue because these are pretty, we've got them back pretty far, and I don't want to go into where the shock mounts. Again, worst case, we can reposition where the shock mounts, but ideally, we won't do that. So I was looking at taking some more off the McCue links. Yeah, you really can't take off too much without really making it weak. So we took some more off the axles, and it did push through where the mounting point is for the shock. So we're gonna have to move that back a little, or drop it down lower, put a new hole. I'm not sure yet, but we'll figure that out. And hopefully now we'll have a little bit better movement, freedom of movement. We are going to take a little bit. We didn't take any off this side yet, but we're going to take a little bit more, just a little bit more off there and a little bit off here. And hopefully that helps. All right, we got the rear ones adjusted, a little more trimming, and now look. Oh yeah, much better. Much better. Basically just ended up having to take out a lot more material on the axles. Again, you can see now that hole though, where our shocks were going to mount. And you can put a small screw in there, but you just don't want it to poke through and then start hitting on the link. It's not a lot of room. So we'll probably just try to move the hole back. Hopefully we've got enough space there before this little ledge. We can try to put the hole right. Oh, I don't know. It's close. We'll figure it out, but it is much better now. Yeah. Anyway, all right, we're going to go on to the next step here and keep on going. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I know some of these videos are really long, and I just like to show as much as I can. I think it helps people, and you can always skip, right? You can always hit the little chapters below. We have the time codes to skip to parts you want to see in a lot of the longer videos, and or you can just speed it up, right? Watch it like 1.5x, and you can see even more, see it all, but see it faster. But we do like to make sure that people see as much as we can on these bigger builds. Just we find it interesting, and hope that some of you guys find it interesting. Please, if you're watching this video, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, comment below, ask questions, give us comments. What are your favorite parts of this build so far? What is stuff that you see on here that could be better, that we could have done differently maybe? We are all about taking some feedback, and yeah, maybe we're totally missing something that we should have done differently, and I don't know. This is a very unique build. Again, I know there's all 3D prints out there where you can basically just print out the whole thing, but this is all from different manufacturers. That's what makes this build so special. All the parts are from different community members and different smaller companies all coming together to kind of help make this build possible. And none of it's really custom, right? It's what they made for the SCX24 market. And so we do run into little issues like these McCue links and the axles. Again, it's just inevitable because there's so many different ways to do stuff. But again, nobody made really any custom parts for this. They're all just kind of off the shelf, what they sell to the public. So you can buy all this stuff, most of it. Some of the stuff, like I said, they don't sell, like the links. Those are just some links he found on Thingiverse or something like that and printed them out. But everything else, you can buy this stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. That's all I got to say. I appreciate the watching. I know it's long, and me rambling right now is making it longer. So let me get out of here and finish up this build.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Welp, this is what we've got now. We're kind of, I don't want to waste a bunch of your time checking out all these different spring, they're not shocks, but spring options. These are just way too wide, way too stiff. So we had to go with the thinnest possible ones. These guys here, the thinnest, and they're still pretty stiff. They're not rubber, they're like a harder plastic. Again, I just wanted something and I couldn't really find much. If you guys know of a better option for 3D printed shocks, comment down below. Maybe we'll get some. We're probably going to do a second video where we update this with new stuff. If people have new stuff that they think would work better on here, we'll give it a try and we'll see. And yeah, we'll make another video. Plus, we've got, you know, two bodies to look at. I think we're going to start with the Golem though. And this is the GunnersRCGarage, Sean Vachon, and then the Tinker Time rear. I think we're going to start with these. The Colt's Third Dimension 3D, the resin printed body. because we cracked it and broke it, I want to try to fix that. And again, we got to show both. Well, we don't have to, but we want to. We want to show both. They're both very awesome bodies. Well, all three really, because these are two different manufacturers or printers. But either way, we're going to start with that guy, the Golem, and the Tinker Time cage. And yeah, these shocks, or springs, I don't want to keep calling them shocks, we're having to experiment a little. We did have, because we had to go through on the axle to give ourselves more clearance, I had to move. On this side I moved it, this side I did not move it yet, but I moved the shock or spring further back. You can kind of see the original hole here. We moved in, there was the screw was going through, and it was causing it to, wasn't really hitting too hard because we don't have that much articulation or flex here, but it was still pushing behind the link here, the part we milled out. So we want to leave that milled out, so we move the shock back, or spring back. Springs, damn it, they're not shocks. So we're going to do the same thing here and basically just drop this back. We also moved this mounting position. We had them here for a minute. We moved them forward because it's just too tall. It was just way too tall. We want it a little bit lower, and we're probably going to do the same thing here in the front. We're probably going to move this back to this point here. We may even, yeah, probably there, because you can't really put another point in here. So we'll probably just put it where the tray mount is. And worst case, we might be able to move this forward. I don't think so. There's not very much clearance because these have big eyelets. We'd have to trim down this and they'd get weak. The springs, this little eyelet here, this one already broke. You can see I glued it. But we're good. And I don't want to trim this down right here to move this forward more, but we could move it forward. But I think this will be fine if we just move it back here. So yeah, we got to put a new hole here and get this spring put in to the new hole. Not the screws, no! As long as they don't mix, we're good. Just don't want to have to resort them back out. Should be good here. I almost wonder if we need some spacers to kind of offset on the frame, at least, to kind of push these springs to the outside. We don't want to over tighten these because they need to be able to pivot. See how it kind of pivots? If you make them too tight, they don't move very well. And then they're even more stiff. Pretty cool though. Like, it's cool design, cool concept. You can see they're a little bit angled inward like this, right? You kind of want your springs to be straight up and down. At least on normal shocks. On normal shocks, you want them to be as, straight up and down as possible so that when they compress, you're not binding the shock shaft into the housing. These aren't going to matter as much. And actually, maybe being angled will help because it'll allow them to kind of bend a little better. So maybe we'll just leave it for now. They are stiff, but I think moving these back here will also help because when they're more of an angle, when we angle them inward like this, they're a lot more soft. The fronts are pretty stiff. The back's less so. And my guess is these will break over time as we use them and run it, and there's weight sitting on them, they'll crack and break, and we'll have to try to find some new ones or something. But again, if you have some better options out there, you've seen some 3D printed shocks, like that are actual shocks. We'll use real springs if there's a 3D printed housing, stuff like that. But for now, this is what we got. And they're kind of cool and unique. Definitely makes it stand out as it is 3D printed, right? As much as we can. Everything. Obviously, we can't have 3D printed screws or the axle shafts. So, sorry, those aren't 3D printed. But everywhere else that we can, we're trying to do it. We're trying to keep it as true to form as possible. So, all right, we're going to end up using this guy. What's nice about this is we should just be able to put 2 screws in and it'll hold it. We'll have to adjust it based on how our front body goes. It does seem to ride a little high, and I think that's in part because, well, that's about right. It just sits right, this front cab sits right on this. And this piece right here is really meant for the on and off switch. Now, I don't even know if it's necessary. We could cut that off completely. It might weaken the frame a little, so that's kind of a concern. If we cut this off, it might weaken the frame, but we could definitely trim it down. With the ESC in there, it's going to be sitting, the body's going to be sitting on that anyway, so we can't really go any lower than what we've got here. But I think this will work. Basically like so. Then we can even try to get our stinger bumper on the front. I didn't think we were going to be able to use the stinger bumper, but let's look. Yeah, buddy. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to screw that in now, just so it's on there. Yeah, I like it. All right, cool. All right. We got our stinger bumper on. We got our cage on. Just mounted it like this. One screw where the spring is, the other screw where a shock mount normally goes. And then our golem body should be just like so. Right, a little high in the front up here. But again, most of that's because the ESC is going to be right here, which hits right on the inside here. So, I mean, we could probably Dremel this down. This is pretty thick. This print here is pretty thick. We could probably Dremel this out, but I really don't want to. I think it's level with the cage, right? Level at the top with the cage, even a little lower, actually. Maybe we'll have to figure out some like inner fenders or just leave it. Maybe it's not a big deal. Once the servo's in there, it'll kind of black it out a little. It's kind of fun looking, kind of cool little rig. Our little springy springs. We're going to end up putting this in here. And we have this transmission that we're going to use. We're going to use our 3D printed plate. I wanted to find a 3D printed transmission housing, but I haven't yet. Although I've been talking to some people while we're doing this video, and we'll see. Like I said, if we do a second video, maybe we'll show that when we get it. It's been like 5 months since I wanted to do this project, just because trying to get parts from people and people falling through and backing out, and just it's been a pain. And just trying to find people that print certain parts. So it's literally been like 5 or 6 months since we started this, and so I just want to get it going, get the video out there, and we've got like 95% of everything we want. Transmission housing, it can wait. Drive shafts, they can probably wait. One thing that we definitely need that we don't have, which hopefully we have before the end of this video, steering links. You gotta have some steering links. Worst case, we'll just use some stock steering links until we get some. And then we'll do a follow-up video with everything else that we've acquired to make this thing even more 3D. 3D. All right, guys, let's get this transmission in motor. Oh, yeah, we're using the Angora. And we're just going to use stock electronics. I think you saw that. I've got a brand new Emax that we just pulled out of the box. All right, so we had to Dremel this down just a little bit. Falling apart. No. There we go. Oh, no. Baby, come back. So it looks like we fit a little better now. We were having an issue where it wouldn't go down far enough and over far enough, so we couldn't really get on this hole. I think we're good now. Ta-da! Hopefully it holds up. Got extra mounting points, which is nice compared to like the stock plate. We're not going to use the purple. We're not using the purple. You know what? Stickers! Purple is pretty, though. It's a pretty purple. Need the pinion. Nice. Oh, we might have to pull our spur back off to be able to... Getting that screw down there is kind of annoying. There's like a screw underneath the spur. Bah. How are you supposed to do your mesh if you can't get under there? These don't come with screws? Oh, we need motor screws? Uh-oh. Those aren't 1.4s, are they? I think they're 2 millimeter. Yeah, we need 2 millimeter screws. BRB. 2 millimeter button head. We'll do a 2x4. And that's so annoying. All right. This sucks because you want to be able to tighten your screws, your motor mount screws appropriately. And as you tighten them, it can change your mesh. And so like if you completely tighten this one underneath here, you can't really move your mesh easily. I guess you could just pull this off and put it on, and pull this off and put it on, and eventually get your mesh just right. But see, like right now we're a little too loose. This guy here, it's a little tight. Yeah, it's way tight. So let's loosen here. See, before you tighten it down, you want to be able to move it a little bit. Back it off. Still a little too tight. All right, we'll be back. We're going to mess with this a little bit. We opened them up just a little bit more. You can see here. Give us a little bit that way, a little bit here, and we opened up this just a little bit. That way we can actually adjust our mesh. Because if your mesh is too tight, you'll break things, you'll burn up your motor, you could burn up your electronics, you'll put extra wear and tear on the pinions and the spur, and you just want to have a good mesh. It'll be loud. Having a good mesh is kind of one of those day one, every RC you do. Wrong screw. There we go. Now you can see. You can actually, not much still, but there's just enough to adjust it in and out. Hopefully. Oh yeah, way better. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this guy down. Let's check again. Yep. Pretty good. 3D printed motor plate. Now we just need the transmission housing and the cover. We probably won't even throw a cover on this right now. I do think we have some. I just don't want to, just in case we need to adjust something. Fantastic. Now we'll just mount it up in our skid plate. Actually, before we do that, let's just do a little test, just to make sure. I like to test stuff before it gets all the way installed as much as I can, because if you don't, and then you install it, and there's an issue, well, you have to uninstall everything, and that sucks. Where's our transmitter? Seems good. Yeah. Good to go. All right, we're going to throw it in. Ooh, buddy, that's a close one. Look at that. It's right on there. Fit right in there, though. Very, very close. But, I mean, it's actually, I mean, maybe it's touching, but it's super close. You can see a little bit of a gap in there. All right. Let's go ahead and get, guess we can put our electronics in next, right? Guess we'll just like double-sided sticky tape this and get our servo in and hook it all up and see how things work. We got to get drive shaft in there and steering link still. A little something like this. We don't want to cut our wires down or anything because we never know when we're going to rebuild something. If I know a rig is kind of in its permanent, at least 90% permanent configuration, I'll do better wiring, shorten everything up and get it real tight. But for now, this is going to have to do. We went ahead and pulled our Velcro off of one of our batteries, or one of our stock batteries, and kind of ran into a little bit of a problem. This is a really cool concept until your battery starts to get a little puffy, or if there's just a little bit of manufacturing difference, it just will not fit all the way in. Sigh. So I'm not sure how to handle that right now. I'm thinking we're just going to Dremel this out a little bit. It's pretty tight, but it just becomes an issue when I get it to right here. And you can see it's a little bit thicker, right? Just a little bit. It just kind of gets thicker on this side. I mean, maybe we could try a different battery. I think this is an aftermarket one. All right, let's pull this off here. We'll try this one. We'll try this one. By Velcro. Let's see, I actually want it on this side. Oh, this one's a little better. All right, we'll go with this. We'll go with this. Worst case, if you have this chassis and your battery won't fit, you can always just X-Acto it, sand it, or gently Dremel with like a bit to kind of get that extra little bit of space. This fits fairly well though, it's nice and tight. The battery is hitting on our springs just a little, but it actually curves them forward, which is nice because it means they are a little less stiff because they've got this natural curve to them now. So that works. Our stinger bumper is hitting on our servo a little bit, but I think it's being helped by this forward clocked axle, which is, again, not ideal. But if this axle was not clocked forward, then we'd really be hitting on our stinger here. So, man, it's close. That's okay. We're not going to be compressing that much anyway. Remember, guys, this build's not about being super high performance, low LCG, crawl up walls, hang from couch corners and tables, and it's meant to be kind of a fun little experiment and a showcase of the different 3D printed parts out there, and I guess kind of just a trail rig. We'll just drive it around, do a little bit of crawling. We'll see what we do with the run video, but again, I wouldn't expect any kind of crazy performance. It's just cool. Simple as that. Here we go. We went ahead and used magnets for now. We have one magnet in the back here, and then some magnets in the front, and it just kind of holds on. Seems good. Wish this magnet was a little stronger, and we could put a thicker magnet in there, larger, thicker magnet, but that would give you more space between the cab. And I already kind of don't like how much space is between the cab and the rack, but a little is okay, but I don't want to go more than what it already is, right? Like, that's plenty. I almost thought of maybe trying to do like a clip system where it clips in the back and then magnets in the front. But I think these magnets are strong enough, at least in the front, to hold it, right? And you're probably not going to come off in the middle. There's weight there. And, I mean, there's some pretty good magnet strength there. It's not amazing, but, you know, the front's definitely strong. Almost too strong. But that'll work. Everything else is hooked up right now. We're going to put a bar right here just to kind of finish it. Give it a little bit more of a finished look. What else we got going? Oh, so remember when I said that I thought these went the other way and we flipped them using the C-hubs? We just moved the C-hubs. Well, they go the other way. They're going on top. We have way too much space here. So we're going to flip these around, get that hooked up. We're using just an aluminum one for now until we can get a 3D printed one. I don't want to make you guys wait any longer, so we're just going to use the aluminum. And we're going to get our wheels and tires back on, and I think we're good. All right, BRB. BRB. All right, so we got them flipped. Also, remember that axle clocking feature? These little guys right here? We went in and clocked the axle upward so that it wasn't facing down because we clocked the hubs, right? The axle is still very forward. You can see by the servo. It's kind of forward leaning, and that's because our links here are too long. We'll probably eventually get some shorter links. These are a tad too long, obviously, or these are too short. I mean, I've used these on a lot of C10 builds. I think it's just a combination of the way the geometry is set up on this is not ideal, and it's causing it to lean forward a little too much. So for now, we went ahead and clocked the knuckles and the C-hubs upward so that we have more clearance in the front here. So you can see the axles actually look like they're a little bit more straight. Before they were pointing down like this, and our steering links were actually towards the bottom right here. They were probably right about here, which is not ideal, right? If your axles are facing down that far, not ideal. So we went ahead and moved it up. It does look a little different, but it works just fine. Look at that. And we'll have a little bit better grabbing when we're crawling. Again, not that this is supposed to be some kind of crazy comp crawler or something, but seems good. And who knows, when we get the 3D printed steering links, may change it up a little bit. We're also missing drive shafts, so we need to get drive shafts in here. We're just going to use some stock drive shafts for now. If we can get some 3D printed ones, we will put them in there and let you know. So I think that's the last thing we got to do, drive shafts. And then this little rear piece, like I said, to finish it off, put our wheels and tires on. All right, let's get that drive shaft in. Don't forget to phase your drive shaft. If you don't know what phasing is, look it up. I say it in every video. I'm not going to say it in this one. If you want to know, I guess you can comment and I'll tell you. But yeah, phase your drive shafts. I mean, how fun is this? Got some decent flex there, articulation. 3 tires. I mean, we're not looking for anything crazy, but that's pretty cool. Let's pull this down. Little shocks. It'd be nice to get these shocks made out of some sort of a rubber. Right now they're like a hard plastic with the springs, you know, but I mean, they work. No dampening, obviously, but still cool. Cool as hell. Definitely need our front links in 3D. Maybe some drive shafts. We off camera had to do a lot of work to get this drive shaft. This drive shaft is like halfway. This shaft here, the input shaft, or the male shaft, I guess. It hits like right here. So once you're on this inside shaft here, it only goes like that far. So we had to like drill out. I think the Gladiator ones go all the way, but the C10 one like stops like right there. So that really sucked. So we had to make that work, but it's good now. We were also having issues where our transmission would not fit snug into the belly plate. And I don't know if it's probably a mix of this transmission housing, because it's an aftermarket transmission housing, and the belly plate. We just had to like clean it out a little bit, some of the spots, and just make it have a little bit of extra room where you know, there's like these, it's hard to see in there, but there's little mounting points on the transmission that drop into these slots. So we had to clean that up a little bit. We did have one of our springs break. Where are we at? Here we go. So we had our spring brake. It's actually broken on the other side down here. We went ahead and super glued that, and then we kind of covered the whole thing in E6000 or shoe glue, just so it's got like a rubbery finish to it now. So maybe that'll help prevent it from breaking. I mean, it seems good. Our servo does hit on our Stinger here, but we really couldn't go up too much further. We couldn't compress much more than we already have, because the links will hit on the battery. We were also having an issue with before we were able to drop the transmission down, the drive shaft was hitting on the battery pretty bad. So now it's better, but I think it still kind of barely rubs a little bit. So I don't know. Again, it could be the skid plate. It could be the transmission. It could be the chassis. Just having the battery a little too low. It'd be nice to have that battery up just like an extra millimeter or two. But again, we're working with some very specific parts, so I can't complain. I am super, super stoked and happy with how this thing came out. Overall, I think it's awesome looking. We're going to go drive around a little bit. We are going to, I can tell you already, we're going to have an issue with the tires. So we'll probably do some driving with these, and then we'll swap it over to some real tires. Just because I kind of want to see it actually crawl. And I know for a fact right now, these are just too slick to really crawl up anything too much. Maybe we'll be surprised, but yeah, they're going to be a little rough. I mean, very cool concept. Just, you need a better material to make this work. You need a very rubbery, almost like the Flubber Stuffers material, what the Slymeballz are made out of. They're in there. Yeah, anyway. All right, cool. Enough showing it. Let's go drive it.
tires just aren't gripping. That's the real problem here. They just kind of slide. I mean, it looks like they grip sometimes, but then you can't get like any kind of side bite at all. I think with some better tires, this thing would do amazingly. It's also using V1 electronics, so the modulation is not the best. Yeah, see, you just can't grab that. No grip. We need tires. All right, we're gonna
Little guy racing grippers that we just got in, and the flubby stuffies. Obviously, we're gonna throw those on the wheels and tires, and we'll show you how much compound helps.
My poor little fingers needed a break. These don't even have that many screws, but I wanted to see just the fronts. Let's see what just the fronts do. It's a world of difference though. Let's get the backs on. We're still, but you can tell there's a huge difference. Those flubbers, man, they're killing it. Oh, dude, huge difference. All right, we're gonna finish it. We'll do some more.
Also, while we were sitting there doing the tires, we got the last tire, and I'm like, we never weighed the rig. We never weighed it. We want to know the total weight of the rig. And ideally, we want to know it with the 3D printed tires. So we got to weigh the tires, and we'll figure out the math there. So there's 9.89. We'll just call it 9.9. Yeah, 9.9. 9.9 grams versus 11.41. Wow, I really actually thought that these were going to be heavier. They kind of felt heavier in my hands. I guess it's just because they're so stiff. All right, one more time. 9.9. 11.4, 11. We'll call it 11.38. Fine, here, we'll just math it real quick. So that means that 4 of our 3D printed tires are right at 39.6. And then 4 of the little guy racing grippers is 45.5. So 39.6, 45.5, 0.52 really, which means there's a difference of 5.92 grams. So basically a 6 gram difference. These are going to make the rig 6 grams lighter. And then we'll show you the weight of the rig right here. And here's the full truck. Batteries, ready to run, everything. 371. Which means with the 3D printed tires versus these guys, we were right at 365. So 365, ready to run. 3D printed. Again, missing a couple things, but 365. Now, the body is heavy. So let's see how much that is actually. Just the body is 56. Not crazy, not quite as heavy as I thought it would be. And it's got magnets in it. So 56, not too bad. But yeah. 371, ready to go. All right, let's get back out there now that we've got some real tires on here. And hopefully we get a little bit better grip. It's super fun. I love the way it looks. It just, even with the other tires, it's pretty fun to drive around. Let's get it.
Here we go. Oh no. What? Our battery just died. Seriously? Alright. BRB.
1 billion, zillion, jillion, dillion, cotillion times later.
So we had a little tumble and we broke. You can see it right there. It basically broke off the entire link, I guess. The link mount and the shock mount, right? Like that's part of the shock mount as well. And you can see that's kind of the grain of the print runs across through there. You can see there as well. And that looks like it's got a crack in it, but you know, the rears did that as well. Remember I said I was going to reinforce them a little bit with some glue? Well, I should have reinforced the front as well. I'd say if he's going to redesign these axles in any way at some point, he definitely needs to thicken up this side. Yeah, that's unfortunate. We're going to try to glue it, but yeah. Basically the whole piece came off. Didn't break any of the actual where the mounting points were. It sheared right off of the axle. Basically just goes right on there. Clean shear. It's interesting. I think it's a weak point in the print because we didn't actually trim right there at all. So the back side of this little piece, you can probably see it on the side that didn't break. The back side is where we trimmed, and that's actually still all intact on there. So it's very strange. Yeah, and look right here, look at that. It's not broken yet, but it's about to be. Bummer. Yeah, just need to reinforce that some more in there. There's no reason not to. You could bring this all the way over to here almost, right? Like all the way to the pumpkin if you really wanted to make it super strong. Because there's no clearance issues there, and there's no reason to have that extra space there. Maybe lightweightness, but like you could have it go all the way across. I would. We'll try to reglue it, keep us going, but just wanted to show you. All right, well, we're back in the lab. I just wanted to show you this before we wrap up the video. It's just a clean break. Look at that. That's the side that's supposed to be attached. You can see where I trimmed it and dremeled it, right? And maybe the vibration of that caused it to break, but you can see there's still like printing structure in there, and that's right where it broke off. Right? So that's pretty interesting. It's just like a clean break. Pretty wild. Either way, we're definitely gonna glue that back in there and then reinforce it. And yeah, even on this side you can see we're about to break there. So we'll get it fixed. Well, it was a long one, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. This little guy has been a blast. At some point, we want to try to fit this body on here. We're going to get the fixed version. He's sending out another one, so when we get that, we're going to try to get it maybe mounted up, and I'll show that on this rig as well. We'll have to redo the mounting. I wanted to show some more. We reinforced. It's very, very good now as far as the body mounts. We went in and reinforced it. We added some magnets. These 2 extra smaller magnets on the bottom. You can see how we did it on the back of the cage there. And it holds very well. So now we can just drop it on there, and man, it's not coming off. Like I have to pull hard. I mean, pardon our floppy link here. But yeah, so pretty cool looking rig when we're all together. There we go. And yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it. Does suck that we just broke it, but it took like a 2-foot fall, kind of a tumble down those rocks. And yeah, it happens, especially with the 3D prints, right? But when we get it back together, get it back out there, maybe you'll see it out on the Red Rocks at some point next summer. It's a ways away, but we'll definitely run it out there. It seems to handle really well. The tires make all the difference, right? And again, I just want to thank everybody that contributed to the build. We had a lot of awesome manufacturers. We'll put all their links below. Make sure you check them out. And yeah, definitely cool. Definitely an experience, and definitely unique. So why don't you put down in the comments below, put unique down in the comments below. If you made it this far, watch the whole video, unique. That lets me know that you watched the whole video. And yeah, do the whole like, subscribe, share, notification bell thing. And yeah, share this in your groups. again, it's not something you see every day. And so if people are interested in what can be done with 3D printing, there's a great example. Hope everyone has fun. Get out there, run your cars, build something awesome, smash them, crash them, bash them. Don't break the expensive parts, guys.